Khalistan is a term used to refer to an independent Sikh state that was proposed to be carved out of the Punjab region of India in the 1970s and 1980s. The demand for Khalistan arose due to perceived injustices and discrimination against Sikhs by the Indian government, as well as a desire to preserve their distinct cultural and religious identity. The origins of the Khalistan movement can be traced back to the 1940s, when a group of Sikhs led by Master Tara Singh demanded a separate state for Sikhs within the Indian Union. However, this demand was not met, and Sikhs continued to be treated as a minority community within India. In the 1970s, the demand for Khalistan gained momentum, fueled by the Indian government's Operation Blue Star in 1984, which was aimed at flushing out militants who had taken refuge in the Golden Temple complex in Amritsar. The operation resulted in the death of many innocent civilians and the desecration of the Golden Temple, which is considered the holiest site for Sikhs. Following the Operation Blue Star, Sikh extremists launched a violent campaign for Khalistan, which resulted in a wave of assassinations, bombings, and other acts of terrorism throughout India. The most notable of these was the assassination of Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1984 by her Sikh bodyguards in retaliation for Operation Blue Star. The assassination led to a series of anti-Sikh riots in which thousands of Sikhs were killed in Delhi and other parts of India. The Khalistan movement was also supported by Sikhs living abroad, particularly in Canada, the UK, and the US. These Sikhs formed organizations such as the International Sikh Youth Federation and the Khalistan Commando Force, which were involved in fundraising and arms smuggling for the Khalistan cause. The Khalistan movement gradually lost steam in the late 1980s and early 1990s due to a combination of factors, including increased Indian military action against militants, infighting among Sikh extremist groups, and a realization among many Sikhs that the demand for Khalistan was not realistic or feasible. Today, the demand for Khalistan remains a fringe issue among some Sikhs, particularly those living abroad, but it has little support among the wider Sikh community in India. The Indian government continues to monitor Sikh extremist activity and has designated some groups, such as the Babbar Khalsa International and the Khalistan Zindabad Force, as terrorist organizations. What are the main bodies who are funding the entire Khalistan movement? It is important to note that the Khalistan movement is a controversial and complex issue, and there are various perspectives and opinions on its funding and support. However, here is a brief overview of some of the potential actors involved in the financing of the Khalistan movement. Non-resident Indians, NRIs, the Sikh diaspora, particularly those living in Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States, have been identified as a significant source of funding for the Khalistan movement. NRIs are estimated to contribute millions of dollars to Sikh religious and political causes, including those advocating for Khalistan. Pakistan, India has accused Pakistan of providing financial and logistical support to separatist Sikh groups, including those advocating for Khalistan. However, Pakistan has denied these allegations. Sikh extremist groups. There are various Sikh extremist groups that advocate for Khalistan, including Babbar Khalsa International, Khalistan Commando Force, and International Sikh Youth Federation. These groups are believed to generate funds through illegal activities such as drug trafficking and extortion. Religious institutions. Some religious institutions, such as Gurudwaras, Sikh temples, have been accused of funneling funds to Khalistan-related causes. It is important to note that the funding of the Khalistan movement is a complex issue, and it is difficult to determine the exact sources and amounts of funding. Additionally, not all Sikh individuals or organizations support the Khalistan movement, and there are differing opinions within the Sikh community regarding the legitimacy and feasibility of an independent Khalistan. Current status of Khalistan and its results. Khalistan is a proposed independent Sikh state that some Sikhs have sought to create in the Punjab region of India. The demand for Khalistan arose in the 1970s and 1980s when Sikh separatists, led by the militant organization Khalistan Liberation Force, engaged in a violent campaign to establish an independent state for Sikhs. However, the Indian government launched a major crackdown on the movement in the 1980s and 1990s, which resulted in the arrest of many Sikh militants and leaders. The movement lost momentum as a result, and the demand for Khalistan has since declined. Currently, there is no active movement for Khalistan, and the demand for it is limited to a small group of Sikhs living in India and abroad. However, the issue of Khalistan remains a sensitive and contentious issue, with some Sikhs continuing to advocate for an independent state. In terms of results, the movement for Khalistan has not achieved its goal of establishing an independent state for Sikhs. The Indian government remains firmly opposed to the idea of Khalistan and has taken measures to prevent its creation. The demand for Khalistan has also been largely marginalized within the Sikh community, with many Sikhs opting to work within the framework of the Indian state to pursue their political goals.